Hi everybody. Thank you for joining me, Living Divinity. So I want to talk to you a little bit about this twin flame thing. It is real, and I've been experiencing it for about 5 years. And it is a push and pull thing between two people. So what happens is, as one elevates, the other one has to make a choice to elevate, to align with the other one. Otherwise, the other one that's aligning and elevating up will get too far ahead and pretty much have to leave the other one behind. So, if you've watched my previous readings, one of my sisters, God bless her soul, she's passed away now, but she was like my confidant. I think I'm not saying it right, but you know what I'm saying. I could always confide with her, and she would always give me like good advice. And my family, all of us are energetically connected. And there was a time where I wasn't speaking to her, so that's when I started watching tarot, and I chose a particular person who's no longer on, and she helped me through a lot of it. And it began by talking about twin flames, and that I knew this person between 1 and 3 years, and there was an automatic connection. So I'm thinking, well, who could this be? Well, it could only be one person, and that was David. And I was married at the time, and God didn't want me to be with who I was married to. So energetically, I didn't really understand like the connection between me and him, but it's like he could read my mind. And energetically, I told him that I was going to make the move and move away from Chris, and that way we would have an opportunity. In any event, I changed my mind. I decided to work on the marriage, and it just got harder and harder and harder. And God saw to it to pretty much push me out of that marriage. So before we are born, we are up in heaven, and we decide we're going to do this. So I don't know what my heavenly name would be, if it's different than what it is today. In any event, I agreed to this. And as I'm listening, watching different tarot readers, and they're all giving me different signs, I finally one day walked up to David and I said, look, don't freak out. And I said, I told Chris I was in love with someone else, and that person is you. And, well, he's 26 years younger than I am. And he ran from me. So energetically, he ran from me. Physically, he ran from me. Mentally, he ran from me. But we always came back together. Over the course of the other 2 years while I was still on the island, we were on and off energetically. And I could hear him talking about me. And he was telling his co-workers about like us supposedly having sex. And one day I texted him and I told him, I said, stop talking about me. And he couldn't figure out how did I know. And the funny thing about that is one of his co-workers was walking down the aisle at the company that they worked for. And I looked into the kid's eyes, and he's the one that told me energetically. He told me that David was talking about me. And so that's when I text David and I said, stop talking about me. And he couldn't figure it out. How did I know? So there was a point where he blocked me off of Facebook, but I used a girlfriend's login to research him. And he had said he did something, went somewhere or did something. And then I typed in there, like, why couldn't I go with you? And somehow he knew it was me, so he went back to his page. Oh, I typed it on my Facebook. Oh, so somebody went here, and why couldn't I go? And so he immediately went to his Facebook and he took it off of his page that I was blocked. But he knew I was referencing him, which therefore made me realize that he had been following me the whole time under a fake account, and he still does it to this day. So there were times where I'd be at home and I was already separated, divorced from my husband, or almost divorced, but I definitely was separated from him. And I heard him calling me. He's like, come to the store. So I made up a reason to go to the store. I picked up a plan or something. And as I was leaving, I heard him say, now granted, he was probably 6 parking lanes away from me. But I could hear him energetically say, hey, it worked. And he was going to try it on other people. So that was his cue to know that although our connection is different because it's stronger and it's more like we're talking in the same room, but he knew he had the power to maneuver women around by just using his thoughts. So anyways, so one of my friends there, I had talked to her about him and so forth, and we had this little conversation and blah, 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 but she was friends with another gal who is very dark. I'm sorry, it keeps cutting off. I'll just turn it off. Anyway, so somewhere along the line, out of the two women's conversation, she mentioned it to her. Oh, do you know this person is interested in this person? And so this particular person, she has a kind of a love-hate for me. One day we were walking down the lane, and I was always cordial to her, but we were walking down the lane and she's like, I like women too. And I just looked at her and kind of smiled. I said, that's nice. And I took the first right, and I never talked to her again about it. That let her know I don't go that way. I'm not interested. I don't want to know. Anyway, so she was mad because she couldn't get me. So in order for her to get back at me, she figured she would get this person, David, to go against me. So she was telling him rumors and telling her whole little crew that I was on drugs and there's no way I could get an apartment without doing something. And, I was probably hooking, doing standing on the corner kind of stuff, all these things that weren't true. And she actually had a co-worker of David's to tell David that he slept with me and that I was like skanky or whatever, and none of it was true. Instead of David using his own mind, he was busy trying to fit into this new group. So he bought into it. And there was one moment where, I was very happy. And he just said, take it slow, And I was like, okay. So the next time I saw him, he totally looked at me like I was a piece of trash. And with no explanation. And he didn't feel like he owed me an explanation because we weren't anything. We weren't an item. We hadn't dated. We hadn't done anything, But it still hurt my feelings, because twin flame, we are cut off the same cloth. So we are two people with the same soul, but we're in two different people. I don't know how to really explain that. If you really wanted to know more, you'd have to study up on it, but that's my understanding of it. So I always felt automatically like I could trust him, yet it was like the betrayal about him talking like we had sex, which we hadn't physically, the betrayal of him turning his back on me. I've always been a giving person, so I had someone made this big hammer for me out of Filipino redwood, and I had it in my bag that I carried when I went down to the store, and in front of all of his co-workers, I said, "Hey, David, I got something for you." So I pulled it out, and it's it's a massive hammer like back in the old days, and I'm talking old days like the days of warriors, the days of like that Mel Gibson movie, where the Irish were fighting whoever, the Scottish or whatever it was. It was like back in those days, that's what this tool looked like, and it was a big hammer. And, I just said, a couple of the other guys, they said they would want one, and I said, I'll try to get the guy to make me some more, but I ended up quitting from there. So David was the only one that really got to benefit from that. Anyways, but, I just walked away, and, looking down the hallway, I saw him looking at me, and he was like really jazzed that I gave it to him in front of all of his friends and stuff like that. But anyways, so we've just had this whole on and off thing, and most of it has been energetic. So now I'm at the point where, I've already relocated away from the island of Oahu, but I'm getting ready to relocate to another state soon. And, I keep him posted through text, and I just kind of feel like if he wanted to be with me, he would be with me. But how many people are really afraid of love, Maybe he wasn't ready for it. I left in December 2020, and, I knew he had his life to live. I knew that there were things that he wanted to do, and, I wasn't ready to close the door yet. The distance kept me safe from being caught up in all that, but this woman he got entangled with that was, spouting out all these lies. She's very dark, and I actually, the spiritual gangsta, he lives on Oahu, so I typed in some stuff, and I told him, I said, go down there and see her. I said, look in her eyes. I said, you'll see it's empty. So people who lose their soul, who sell their soul, or have been hurt so bad that their soul's so broke, that it allows evil entities to enter. And she's a master manipulator. She went to college for psychology, and she has to be she has to do big things, even though it's little. For an example, I explained to her that when my grandfather passed away, he had given all the years of his life, he had been helping people. And her up on me was, well, she got her daughter's school all ceiling fans, and they were installed. And I was like, wow, that's nice. I mean, it doesn't compare to 9 miles of people who are in the procession to bury a honorably discharged veteran of World War I and World War II, who spent his life giving to the community. But I wasn't going to argue with her. I just said what I had to say, and I walked away. But that just goes to show you that people don't embrace, and I'm not going to say all people who have dark spirits or people who have to prove themselves, they're not going to give any accolades to anybody, And the first sign that I saw about her was she told me she didn't like her mom, and that she's nothing like her mom. And she's a lot like her mom, but they don't look the same. So one day her mom, because she worked at the store too, her mom walked up to me when I was at the service desk, and her voice is really loud. She's like, "Hey, sister," something, I don't know, like, or no, first she called me sister, then she called me auntie because I'm older than her. And so I was like just talking like at this voice, at this volume, and I was telling her, I'm not that much older than you. You need to like chill it out. Why come at me like that? But she was so into thinking that she's going to make me look bad. Well, you see, she said she was 45, and I told her I was 34, which shut her up right away. But meanwhile, I was like 12 years older than her. And but that shut her up. So I went to one of her coworkers. I said, "Hey, when you have break time, go in there and call her grandma, because she's a grandma." So she's 45. She has a daughter that's 30, and she has a 15-year-old granddaughter. And I'm not judging anybody, but, I'm just saying that don't throw stones when you got your own crap in your house, in your glass house. So, yeah, he did that, and he told me about it, and he said it really made her mad. So every time I saw her, I would yell out, "Hey, Grandma! Hey, Grandma!" And it used to piss her off, but hey, she's a grandma. I'm not a grandma yet, So what happens with all these bullies, these bullies, it's like a feeding frenzy. So they all gossip, and they say things, and they make up things, and they get the whole crowd going, and pretty soon you're ostracized. These are the things that today's world allows. It's like second nature, But hurt people do go out of their way to hurt people. And so I'm here to tell you that I am blessed. My grandparents on my mother's side, they hold high places in heaven. So whenever there's a situation, God gives me answers right away, and God will take action when He's ready. And I don't want to see anyone get hurt. And I'm not here to judge anybody. But you have to be careful what your mouth speaks. Now, I could have prayed for God to take action. But they told me that with every action that she does against me, if I'm strong and I carry through and act like it doesn't bother me, that God will reward me in the end, larger. So I let it ride. I let it ride. So now the thing about the twin flame thing was they thought they could break me. Well, they couldn't. So what did they do? They started manipulating my twin flame. And they started making him confused every day. They started complaining about him, his work ethics, him being late, when in fact, in the near future, when he does leave there, that department's going to fall apart because he's actually the one that carries that department. And I'm not saying he's Superman, but out of all the people there, he's the smartest one. And, they always say, if you're the smartest one in the group, it's time for you to find another group. So God allows people to have their free will. But if I'm standing fast, waiting for my twin flame, because God tells me to, that twin flame is going to go through series of torture, because he's right in the middle of all the snakes. All the snakes already know what he's supposed to be. So the one girl, she did ask me my birthday, and I wasn't really into tarot, and I wasn't really into, the whole thing about your birth date and what it means and so forth. But she even asked me, like what time I was born, and I told her and stuff, and it did affect me for a long time. I would be drained. I would have all these prickly things all over my skin, and I would have to take baths, salt baths. I would have to go into prayer and meditation, and I'd have to cleanse with the sage, burning sage or incense. And I had to really isolate myself. I had to stay to myself to protect my energy. Your energy is your lifeline. If you have no more energy, and it'll start affecting your body. If your spirit's damaged, your spirit is energy. When it's damaged, it'll start affecting your body, and your mind, so they don't know where I came from. They know that I came from the other side of the tracks, okay, but they don't know what I endured from the time I was born to the time I turned 50-something. They had no idea. And I don't have to physically fight someone, but I'm strong, and I'm able to endure. And they thought they could break me, so now they're working on him. If they turn him into an alcoholic, if they turn him into a sex fiend, have all these women groping all over him, and making him feel real big, the whole ego trip thing, that he's never going to leave. But, God's making a way. God's making a way for him to come out. And, I have to be patient, and I have to be faithful and hopeful about this unstoppable love, that unbreakable, undeniable love that we share. Because if I give up on love, I give up on God. God is love. Love is God. There's so many evil things that go on around us. And the only way to stop a narcissist is to not feed into it. say, oh, yeah, you told me that last week. I'm over it. And walk away. Oh, yeah. Yeah, go do your thing. I'm gonna do me, you do you. Then they don't have any ammunition because you're not giving them anything back. But when you turn your back like that, you do have to walk away, even if it's a whole crowd. And the crowd, some of them I knew personally that I became friends with it, I'd spend time with them, and they went along with it because she's the boss. And if you didn't follow her footsteps, if you didn't follow her lead, if you didn't go along with what she was proposing, whether it had to do with work or not, then you would become a target for her to get you booted out. So you see, they're all smart. They're all doing what she wants, but they're not following their heart. They're not following their heart. And what they have to realize is, one girl, she just had a baby. Baby's probably a year old now. And, what you do in your lifetime is going to affect your child one way or the other. Because if God doesn't ask the mother to pay her karma for being a follower, for allowing somebody to go out of their way, off their lane to hurt someone else, God might let that mother just keep going. But when that baby grows up, the baby's going to have to pay back karma for her mom. And, who knows where that child will be when she's 15, She's already trying to figure out life already. Life is so difficult now that you add karma onto someone. It makes their life more confusing. How do I do this? How do I do that? Is this the right way? Their whole intuition is shut down, through the karma, through the hurts. I'm saying if the child had other hurts along the way, so a mother's setting up her child to have bad luck, to have bad things happen to her because the mother's not paying the karma. And believe me, I know my dad killed someone. My whole family, all my siblings have paid karma one way or the other for my father's wrongdoing. And I love my dad. He just chose wrong. And I went through 2 marriages. I chose wrong. Now I have God within me. And I'm not going to give up on God's love. I'm not going to give up on my twin flames love. And tomorrow might be a bad day. Tomorrow I might just say, oh, heck with it. I've been holding on for all this time. But jumping back a little, I was in a deep sleep and I woke up. I hadn't text David or tried to call him for about 2 years. I just let him go live his life. And my Facebook page stayed open. If you ever wanted to reach out, it was there. And I woke up and I heard marriage. And I'm like, oh my God, David's going to marry her. What a mistake. So I'm texting him, which, maybe it's not my business. Spiritually it is because he's already mine. But I texted him, I was like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Are you sure this is where you want to go? And his answer energetically was, he's in the process basically, but he was just gonna accept second best. He was gonna, I forget what that saying is, but that wasn't his first choice. His first choice wasn't around, that was me. But even though I was his first choice, it scared him. The whole connection scared him. The fact that all these people that he worked with didn't want to see him be with me because of this woman who wanted him only to use him for money and keep him away from me. So now all of this is played out now. And so it's going to be real soon that, David's going to be knocking at my door. He's going to be knocking at my door, and we're going to be able to start with a friendship and move from there. But, it's all free will. Is that his free will? Am I willing to wait longer? I'm relocating to another state. And if God gives me number 2 and says, this is the one, this is the next one, this is who I want you to be with since your twin flame isn't coming, then, everything I do, every time I have a conversation with someone, every time words come out of my mouth, it's like, these are words that I feel like God wants me to say, And I pay homage to my ancestors. I talk about them often. I try to remember them on their birthdays. I try to remember the good things that my grandma taught me. And I hold them, I cherish them so. And they appreciate it. Because, a lot of my other family members are just living their lives and they don't visit the cemetery. And, it's not really about visiting the cemetery, I guess, so much as just speaking to them as if they were here in front of you, because spiritually they are. Your ancestors are here to help you move through your toughest times. They're here to celebrate with you when good things are happening. But you have to believe it. You have to believe it before you see it or feel it. You have to just go with it and try it out. And I seen on YouTube this guy. He was, I don't even know the name of the band, but he was like a rock and roll guy from Bakersfield, and his band went, they became famous. And he had a daughter, and I'm not sure where the mother was or that whatnot, but he was on drugs and everything else. And he said he went somewhere, like maybe to a church, and then the preacher, whoever, was talking to him. And he said, I'll give it a try. It's the words. He said, I'll give it a try. He became reborn. He stopped doing all those worldly things so he could focus on the love with his daughter. Now that's a great story. And, I've had that awakening as well. And that's what we're all here to do, is wake other people up. Speak words of love, speak words of brutal truth, speak words to shake them up. There's so many, walking dead because they go to work. They're like the hamster on the wheel. They do the same thing every day. They take a break every day at the same time. They go back to work. They do these menial jobs that barely pay. God doesn't really want us to be there. God wants us to speak about Him, about His love, about how to change your life. And God will start changing your life as you start speaking about it. And I have nothing but love. Even those that hate me, I used to say prayers of forgiveness for them, But if we pray too much for the ones that are hurting us, if we pray for their protection, and it's like God won't even really do anything until it's absolutely necessary. I pray for forgiveness for them, but I don't pray for their protection. I pray that God gives them justice. And the sooner they get the justice, it's actually better. Now this girl's been going, she's been going like 7 years. She's been going, cursing me. And I didn't know this until about 3 years ago, but the power of the mind is amazing. God gifted this woman, the power of the mind, but she chose to use it for her self-indulgence. She used it to get ahead. She used it to take from people. I can't explain it because I've never been like that, okay? But I'm telling you, everybody has ancestors. Speak to them. If your grandpa liked chicken noodle soup, you make it for him and set a bowl aside for him and say, Grandpa, I made this for you. Now, spiritually, he's not going to be able to come and eat it, but energetically, he's going to appreciate it like he can eat it. So all these things, these are like your, what do you call them? Your invisible friends, but they're the good spirits, right? The good spirits always are able to come back. It's true. I've had things growing up. I had dreams. I had a dream about, I have like 37 first cousins, or 39. And some of them have passed away. Some of my siblings have passed away, but there was about 39. And I had a dream about one cousin that he had blood all over him. And I got up like we were getting ready for school, and I was in the kitchen, at the kitchen table, having my cereal or whatever. Everybody's there. And I was telling them I had a dream about Stephen. He had blood all over him. Well, the next week he had an accident. It wasn't quite that tragic, but he used to like to dig for antique bottles. And I don't know, the shovel hit him in the leg or something and caused him a little cut. So everybody was like, oh, Marcia's psychic, Marcia's psychic. And I was just a little kid. I must have been in 3rd grade or 4th. And I only know that time frame because I know what house it happened in. So, but even my brother in the other house we lived in, he was telling me, he said, when I was going in 2nd grade, my brother Kenny, he had to go to the other school. So I had to walk home from the school by myself. And my brother Michael said, well, Kenny's going to be going to the other school now, and you got to walk home from school. He's like, you better watch out and you better be careful. He said, when you get home, on your way home, there might be a dog that wants to chew you up and kill you. And he said, don't run. Don't ever run from a dog, because they'll run you down and they'll kill you. And we had a little Pomeranian, Smokey. My mom used to get mad when we would feed him under the table. And I was coming home from school by myself, 2nd grade, and all I had to do was walk catty corner, because our house was one house in from the corner, and I had to cross the street. And I'm walking, and this huge St. Bernard was in the middle of the street, and he was in the stance, just like my brother said. He said, you'll know when they want to attack you, because they'll stand there and look a certain way. And I'm looking at the dog, and I'm like, oh my God, the dog's going to eat me. And I started trying to walk fast. 2nd grade, your legs are only so long. And I was trying to walk fast, but not run, because I didn't want to get killed. And out of nowhere, Smokey came. He got in between us, and he's yapping, like, leave my girl alone. She belongs to me. And I got to the door, and I thought that dog was going to eat Smokey up. And the St. Bernard just turned around and walked away like, oh, well, not today. I guess I got to find another one. And then Smokey come running up to the house, and I was feeding him every night under the table because he saved me. Then at that same house, I was younger, and my sister was telling me, because the next lot over was not built on, so it was undeveloped lot. And all the kids that were old enough to swing a bat was playing baseball. My sister told me, see that batter over there? I think it was my brother Michael. See Mike, he's batting right now. Don't walk behind him because he might swing the bat and really hurt you. Well, I was like 4 or 5. Well, I know I wasn't 5 because I wasn't in school yet, so maybe 3 or 4. And she goes up to bat. How much brains does a kid have at 3 and 4? I walked right behind her, and she smacked me a full swing in the head. The only thing I remember was being dizzy, and I remember the doctor saying, or mom saying to somebody, well, we just have to wait and see. We don't know how it's going to affect her, because they didn't have machines like that, like they do today. And I remember mom saying, it's time to go to the store. Someone pick up Marcia. So then I think my sister Tina picked me up, and I opened my eyes. I was like, oh, I'm so dizzy. I'm dizzy. Everything's spinning. She says, just close your eyes then. And that lasted for like 3 or 4 days or maybe longer. I don't really know. But, I should have died, really. It was a full swing to my head. But God was with me. My grandma's prayers. I know she prayed for me. My mom prayed for me. I've had a lot of things happen in my life, and everything that's happened in my life was to make me stronger, was to make me this person that had thick skin and can get through things, can figure things out. And I don't hate anybody from my past. I really don't. Those that were so cruel to me. And I have a big list. But I never hated any of them. A lot of them I just kept trying to be what they wanted me to be. Or, I was trying to fit in. And I've been here for 3 years now. I'm done trying to fit in. I'm saying my piece to everybody. I'm saying things that they need to fix before they die. For their soul. And if they don't listen, then I can't make them listen. They could watch my videos. And if they need to watch my video more than once, or not at all, that's totally up to them. The bad thing is when someone feels a certain way, right? When they have children, it's like they make them feel the same way, which keeps them chained up, which keeps them mentally locked up, which makes them feel like they can't do anything with their lives. Makes them feel like, oh, well, I'm only worth this, so this is all I'll go for. It's not intended for it to be like that. It's intended to wake up the next generation, and make them strong. So after I'm dead and gone, and all my siblings are dead and gone, their kids can thrive and be, not about who gets the most money from the deaths, who has control. It's about all working together for the greatest good of their family line. You know, I tried to tell my oldest sister, I said, don't just leave the money to sell the house and give it to all the kids and grandkids. I said, you have to have a plan. I said, if everyone got 100,000, I was like, some of them might just go buy a car that's 90,000. You know, but I said, you have to have a plan. So I don't know if she's listened to that, but you know, you can't just give your kids this enormous amount of money and expect them to be smart about it. You know, my sister and her husband, they worked 40 years or however many. I think my brother-in-law worked 35 years at the same company. Hats off to him, you know. Some people they can do that kind of stuff, you know. I could never work at one job. It's like the learning. Once I learn, I want to go somewhere else and learn something else. And I'm not happy being stuck behind a piece of equipment, doing the same job day in and day out. I'm just not built for that. So this platform allows me to talk about things from my past. It allows me to talk about eating. It allows me to talk about arts and crafts. It allows me to talk about tarot readings. Eventually, I'm going to be hopefully traveling around, being able to stop here and there and do these little video clips. I'm going to be able to highlight different people. You know, there's just so much with this platform that I could do with it. And I thank God. I thank God you guys are here with me, hearing this message and taking something good home with you. And I thank God. I thank God for you. I thank God for God being who He is. Because without God, we are nothing. You know, we have to learn how to respect the world we live in, starting with the ground, starting with our communities, our families. We have to bring respect and love back into everything we do. You know, this world, I mean, we got people who just throw trash because they know the city worker's going to pick it up. And these are adults, so they're teaching their children to do the same thing. They have to be corrected, you know? Just different things like that. Poisoning, you know, changing oil and then letting it go into the ground. Yeah, oh. He's making money, so we're not going to say anything. It's not our ground. Doesn't make sense, does it? If someone was changing oil right next door, this ain't my ground, but I tell them, don't, what the heck are you doing? Doesn't go into the dirt. You put it back in the container and dispose of it correctly, right? We have to be the people who have the knowledge, who pass it down. Some people don't know. It's not good to put oil into the ground because oil comes out of the ground. You know, maybe they're thinking that. Maybe they're thinking, oh, it's going to cost me if I take this back and take it to the recycling center or whatever. I don't even know if there's a fee. Oh, it's a hassle because it's 6 blocks away. I'll just dump it in the ground. You know, we have to be the stewards of Mother Earth in so many ways. But, you know, one person cannot be the police, per se, of everything that goes on in this world. That's why we have this platform. Other people have other knowledge that I don't have, that you can get on here and you can talk about it. So people are more aware. And the more people that are aware and are willing to speak up and do the right thing, the more this world can make the shift into a better world for tomorrow for our kids and our grandkids, and so forth and so on. So, thank you for listening. God bless you all. This is the end of my session. I hope you enjoyed it and got some information out of it. Please like for the algorithm of this channel. Share it if you think it
it's pertinent to someone else that might find it some information that they might be interested or have the need to know, as well as subscribe to help build the platform so I can keep doing this. And if you'd like to donate, I'll do the Cash App. It'll be in the box listed below. God bless you all. Good night. I'm sending you love, peace, happiness, healing, wisdom. And may God bless you. Thank you. Bye-bye.